Other person who's in the news this week as an obvious contender for the nomination is Gavin Newsom, who went on Shawn Ryan's podcast and absolutely dissembled over the question of transition procedures and surgeries on minors as young.
Gavin Newsom isn't just a politician, he's a performance artist, measuring leadership not by results, but by the shine of his perfectly sculpted hair. To him, California isn't a state with real people and real problems. It's a glittering stage where he plays the role of America's most glamorous governor. But Megyn Kelly isn't buying the show. She slices through the glossy image, exposing a man who treats crisis like costume jewelry, an accessory to flaunt, and turns failure into his personal brand. Newsom speaks with the cadence of a visionary, brimming with charm and confidence, but Kelly reveals the truth. He's less statesman, more salesman. Polished, persuasive, and selling a product that looks dazzling on the shelf, until you take it home and realize it falls apart in your hands.
Went from people who liked Gavin Newsom, liberals, saying, I have a very favorable opinion of him at 46%, it fell to 30%. So Charlie's correct. He's hurting himself with his liberal base by doing these interviews of people like Charlie and Steve and Michael Savage. It's because the thing about Gavin Newsom is he's not very good at pushing back. So he's not going in there and doing battle with the Charlies and the Bannons of the world. He's somewhat obsessed.
Kelly doesn't just skim the polished exterior. She tears into the contradictions that define Gavin Newsom. On one hand, he presents himself as the progressive hero, the polished savior of the Golden State. On the other, he's presiding over one of the largest mass departures of people and businesses in modern American history. Tech billionaires from Silicon Valley, weary middle-class families, even the neighborhood mom-and-pop shops, everyone seems to be racing for the exit as if California were a sinking cruise ship. And the reasons aren't hard to see. Under Newsom's so-called leadership, taxes climb skyward, red tape tangles tighter, and the everyday quality of life keeps slipping lower. Kelly frames him not as a leader of the world's fifth largest economy, but as someone who would struggle to keep a simple lemonade stand from collapsing.
For the last few years, I'm trying to understand as much as anyone else. Whole pronoun thing, trying to understand all of that. Well, that was like the hell. I mean, all that stuff. I get it.
Oh my God. First of all, his hands are flailing. He gets so nervous and he can't stop moving his hands. Right? It's to tell I'm uncomfortable and I'm probably lying too. Hands above the midline moving is...
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit subscribe and tap the bell icon so you never miss what's coming next. Now, let's talk about Gavin Newsom's obsession with optics. Because this man doesn't truly govern, he performs. Picture it, California ablaze, wildfires raging, smoke thick enough to choke the sky, and there's Newsom, pausing just long enough to make sure the cameras capture his best side. Kelly zeroes in on that vanity, exposing how image always seems to outrank substance. While ordinary Californians wrestle with rolling blackouts, rising crime, and streets that feel less safe by the day, their governor is busy polishing his brand like a Hollywood star prepping for a close-up. He insists his heart belongs to California, but Kelly slices through the act, calling out what many already suspect. This isn't dedication, it's rehearsal. Every speech, every photo op, every carefully staged moment is practice for the role he really wants, center stage on the national level.
7% said that the snippets harmed their perception of the governor. So in other words, 26% overall said it harmed their perception of him. And among liberals, 37% said it harmed my perception of the governor. Among those who have very favorable opinions of Gavin Newsom, he lost.
She makes it clear this isn't simply a story of mismanagement. It's a story of hypocrisy. Gavin Newsom stood before Californians urging them to mask up, shut down, and sacrifice their livelihoods for the so-called greater good. But while families skipped holidays and small businesses shuttered their doors, Newsom slipped away to indulge at one of the most exclusive restaurants in America, the French Laundry. That infamous scandal wasn't just a careless mistake, it was a revealing glimpse into the man behind the polished speeches. To Newsom, the rules are for everyone else. He positions California as his kingdom, and himself as the slick-haired prince entitled to enjoy luxury while his subjects shoulder the struggle. Kelly dismantles this double standard with surgical precision, reminding viewers of a truth too often forgotten. Leadership isn't about commanding from above, it's about living by the very sacrifices you demand of others.
To start this, and the reason he's smart to start it is because he has no muscles, Emily. None. He's a sinewy little weakling when it comes to arguing any of these issues, especially cultural issues, because he, like all liberals, has never had to do it. So now he's trying to get his training, which is smart on his part, and it would be smart on the part of conservatives to say no, because they declined to help him get in shape before the big bout. We're supposed to be helping Rocky, not drag.
But Kelly doesn't stop there. She drills deeper into the way Newsom cloaks himself in progressive slogans, wielding them like weapons, while the real crises consuming California remain largely untouched. Under his watch, homelessness hasn't just grown, it has exploded. Once bustling neighborhoods now serve as backdrops for sprawling tent encampments, sidewalks transformed into makeshift cities. Streets are littered with needles, crime surges, and families live with the uneasy sense that their communities are slipping away. And how does Newsom respond? He tosses billions of taxpayer dollars at the chaos, as if money were confetti raining down at a parade, then rushes to the nearest camera to strike a pose of compassion. Kelly peels back the illusion, exposing the performance. Behind the stage lights and photo ops, his solutions amount to nothing more than smoke, mirrors, and an expensive set piece designed to mask the lack of real progress.
Come on, man. I mean, I get it. Those are legit, period. The issue of age, and you know, as someone who's been so focused on LGBT and gay marriage, you know, the trans thing, I just like, I've been thinking about the pronouns. Yeah. That's how he answered that question, Rich. Are you okay with surgical procedures on an 8-year-old?
And when failure comes knocking, Gavin Newsom doesn't own it. He sidesteps it. Kelly zeroes in on this reflex, exposing how he has perfected the art of deflection. To hear him tell it, the blame always belongs elsewhere. Republicans blocking progress, Washington dragging its feet, greedy corporations, climate change, national economic forces, any villain will do, so long as it isn't him. Every leader faces crises, but Newsom has elevated excuse-making into a polished performance, a script he delivers with the confidence of a man convinced of his own brilliance. Wildfires consume the state. Climate change is to blame. Businesses flee in droves? That's the fault of corporate greed. Housing spirals out of reach? It's national trends, not his policies. In Newsom's carefully curated world, he's the misunderstood genius, endlessly sabotaged by forces beyond his control. Kelly slices through this narrative, reminding viewers that true leadership means taking responsibility, not outsourcing it. And then there's the arrogance. Newsom struts across television screens with the smug assurance of a man rehearsing for a bigger stage. He downplays it, feigns coyness, but the act is transparent. Every smile, every soundbite, every perfectly staged moment points to one goal, positioning himself as the Democratic Party's backup plan.
Strange, because when you listen to him, you would think like he's a moderate, but he's not. On the trans stuff and virtually every other subject, he is as radical as they come. He is another Kamala Harris, but there's something about him. Maybe he's a people pleaser, a vintage politician. When he gets across from these are our war fighters. And truly, like the three I mentioned.
He knows Donald Trump is running the country with strength, and he knows the Democratic bench is thin and uninspiring. So Gavin Newsom positions himself as the glossy alternative, the man who looks like he stepped straight out of a high-end magazine spread, perfectly tailored and camera-ready. But Kelly tears into that illusion, reminding viewers that America doesn't need another polished cover model. It needs a leader who can deliver real, measurable results. And that's where Newsom falters. Kelly has a gift for slicing through political fluff, and with Newsom, there's no shortage to cut. His speeches drip with buzzwords designed to dazzle: equity, transformation, bold vision. They sound inspiring in the moment, but when the applause fades, Californians are left with the same reality: skyrocketing taxes, broken promises, and yet another wave of families loading up U-Hauls to flee the state. She hammers the point relentlessly: leadership isn't about rhetoric, it's about results. And in Newsom's case, the results are nothing short of catastrophic. What makes Kelly's critique so devastating is her ability to strip away not just his policies, but his persona. She paints him as a governor more concerned with curating his image than fixing his state, California burning behind him as he pauses for a heroic photo op, tent cities rising as he delivers yet another polished speech about compassion.
California is these mealy-mouthed, kale-eating, broccoli-pushing, Birkenstock, whatever, wearing politicians who can't find another person fast enough to blame. My absolute favorite, though, is the fire chief. She's growing on me. When she's not focusing on her lesbianism, she's actually quite fierce. She is not going down without bringing Mayor Karen Bass with her. And who could...
Businesses are collapsing? Out comes a plan with a glossy title, packaged like a blockbuster announcement, but delivering zero results. Gavin Newsom governs like a man convinced that politics is theater, every crisis just another act, every press conference a well-rehearsed monologue. But Kelly tears down the curtain, exposing the dysfunction playing out backstage. And while Newsom polishes his image for a bigger stage, his citizens are quietly casting their votes, not at the ballot box, but with moving trucks. Kelly underscores that California's mass exodus isn't just a statistic, it's a verdict. Families who once dreamed of building lives in the Golden State, entrepreneurs who once called it the land of innovation, workers who longed for stability, all are losing faith. They see past the buzzwords, the empty slogans, the endless photo ops. And Kelly makes sure the rest of America sees it too. Because Newsom's ambitions don't end at Sacramento steps. He's aiming higher, angling for the national spotlight. But Kelly ensures that when he steps forward, his record will trail him like a shadow he can't shake. Newsom built his reputation on being the slickest man in the room, the politician who could flash a smile as the walls collapsed and somehow convince half the audience the chaos was part of the plan. Kelly doesn't let that illusion stand. She slices into the very core of his brand, revealing not a leader, but an actor, one auditioning for the role of governor, and somehow keeping the part, even as he fails every single test of leadership.
So measured, and you're going to have that flailer with the hands and the stuttering and the come on, man, pulling to Joe Biden. Come on, man. It didn't work for Biden, and it's not going to work for Newsom. Like, I'm just seeing the runway of how the Republicans' chances are going to look. And right now I'm feeling good. Not necessarily about the midterms, but about the presidential race. Here's another thing. It's a little off point on the trans issue, but a great moment where Shawn asked Gavin Newsom about why they were so able to very quickly clean up the city of San Francisco when Chinese President Xi Jinping came in.
California under Gavin Newsom has become one of the greatest contradictions in America. Once celebrated as the land of dreams, it now resembles a land of tents, discarded needles, and boarded-up storefronts. Megyn Kelly doesn't just point to the symptoms, she zeroes in on the cause. Newsom is far more invested in posturing for a national audience than in extinguishing the fires burning in his own backyard. He struts around as if he's destined for higher office, yet the reality is clear. He can't even manage the one he has. It's like watching a man brag about running a marathon when he can't make it past the edge of his driveway. Kelly wastes no time tearing into his obsession with appearances. Everything about Newsom screams image management. From the slicked-back hair that looks lacquered with motor oil to the way he delivers perfectly rehearsed sound bites that manage to say absolutely nothing. He's less a leader and more a glossy magazine cover, polished on the outside, hollow at the core. Kelly's critique lands hardest when she highlights the disconnect between image and action. California doesn't need a model, it needs a manager. And Newsom doesn't manage, he performs. Take the homelessness crisis. Billions poured into programs every year, yet the tents spread across sidewalks faster than campaign flyers in an election season.
After, we ended our show on Thursday, was it? I don't know. Was it Thursday or Friday? About what's happening with the biological males out there. And this A.B. Hernandez, who is winning all the girls' medals, Hernandez. And I just did like a personal plea to people and got a lot of great feedback on it. So thank you for watching that. But then I took it to Twitter, and on X, I addressed Gavin Newsom personally. He follows me, so I tagged him. And I'm going to be honest, I begged him to please stop this for all the reasons stated on our YouTube feed. And he didn't get back to me. But
Kelly drove the point home, making it clear that Newsom doesn't confront crises. He exploits them as props for virtue signaling. He'll cut a ribbon, pose for the cameras, deliver a stirring speech, and then vanish, leaving the problem to fester. It isn't governance, it's theater. And when the lights go down and the cameras switch off, Californians are still left with streets lined in misery, while their governor congratulates himself on another flawless performance. Then comes the economy. Businesses aren't just leaving California, they're stampeding out like evacuees fleeing a natural disaster. Tesla, Oracle, Hewlett-Packard, giants that once defined the Golden State, have packed up and rebuilt elsewhere. Kelly skewers Newsom for acting stunned every time another company bolts, as though sky-high taxes, suffocating regulations, and crime-ridden downtowns haven't been flashing red warning lights for years. She paints him as the clueless landlord who keeps hiking the rent, ignores the mold crawling up the walls, and then plays dumb when tenants finally haul their belongings to the curb. But perhaps the sharpest blade in Kelly's takedown cuts through his hypocrisy. Newsom enforced one of the harshest lockdowns in America, kids barred from classrooms, businesses padlocked, families fractured under relentless restrictions. Yet while Californians sacrificed, their governor found ways to bend the rules for himself.
he feels the need to get their approval. That's how it feels. And he's getting excoriated by the left-wing press as a result. It's actually kind of amusing. We put together a budded soundbite. Take a listen here.
I thought that was one of the most inauthentic things I have seen Gavin Newsom do.
Wow.
I'm terribly,
so you don't believe in the let them hang themselves theory?
No, I'm terribly disappointed. I think you meet energy with energy. And what he did was he showed his pretty white teeth and his cute face and did nothing other than that.
And yet, while Californians were told to sacrifice, skip family gatherings, shutter businesses, keep masks on even outdoors, the governor himself was caught indulging at the French Laundry, one of the most exclusive restaurants in the country. No mask, no distancing, just fine wine and luxury, as if the very rules he imposed on millions somehow didn't apply to him. Kelly called it exactly what it was, not just arrogance, but open contempt for the people he claims to serve. The scandal was proof that in Newsom's California, there are two sets of rules, one for the peasants and one for the king. But Kelly didn't stop at hypocrisy. She turned the spotlight on his ambitions. Gavin Newsom has made little effort to hide his national aspirations. He takes jabs at national issues, carefully positions himself as the polished anti-Trump, and parades California as a progressive model for the nation, even as the state crumbles under his watch. Kelly shredded this fantasy with precision. If Newsom can't manage California, a state with more wealth, diversity, and resources than many entire countries, then the idea of him running the presidency is laughable. She framed him as a man hopelessly enamored with his own reflection, so fixated on image that he's blind to the chaos behind him. California's energy grid buckles every summer, crime continues to surge, and public schools sink lower in performance, yet his priority seems to be whether the lighting is flattering for his next nationally televised interview.
A lot about San Francisco and the homelessness and pooping on the road and all that kind of stuff, and it seemed like all of that was cleaned up when Xi came to town.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Complete bullshit.
That's complete bullshit.
I know folks say, oh, they're just cleaning up this place because all those fancy leaders are coming into town.
That's true. Because it's true.
I got to credit Morning Wire, my pals over the Morning Wire who put that together.
Kelly mocked his obsession with national media attention, painting him as the kind of guy who's always eager to show up at the party, smiling for the cameras, but never actually bothered to set up a single chair or sweep up after. It's all presence, no contribution. Her roast drilled straight into the simmering resentment inside California itself, where residents who once believed in the Golden State's promise are now packing their bags in record numbers. Middle-class families, the backbone of any thriving society, are being priced out, forced to flee in search of stability elsewhere. The California dream, once legendary, has curdled into something unrecognizable. And while people struggle to make ends meet, their governor is busy convincing them the nightmare is just a temporary glitch. Kelly ripped away his excuses, making it clear that California's decline isn't some twist of fate or act of nature. It's the direct result of Gavin Newsom's vanity and misplaced priorities. And what made her takedown resonate was that it went beyond California. It became a commentary on a certain brand of politician, leaders more in love with the lens than with their constituents, men and women who view high office not as responsibility but as a launchpad. Newsom, in Kelly's words, is the poster child for empty leadership. And she didn't just poke holes in that poster, she lit it on fire. She dismantled not only his record, but the myths that prop him up, the myth of the bold progressive leader, the myth that he's prepared for the national stage, the myth that his failures are noble battles instead of willful neglect. By the time she finished, Newsom wasn't the slick, untouchable figure he imagines. He was just another failed governor with great hair and nothing else to offer.